Okay, cool. Thank you, Jonas. I'm Jim Reed. I've been with Summit Funding for 29 years. I've been a loan officer the whole time, and I run Next Level Coaching, which is a coaching program for both real estate agents and lenders. And I think it's probably the most affordable one in the nation. But the reason that we do this program is to give back to our realtor partners, frankly, and to teach them the stuff that we've been lucky enough to learn throughout our journey in this business. So when I was about, I don't know if you guys see this in your lives, but typically it seems to me that ladies get their acts together a lot sooner than men. And I was about 27 and frankly still was a goof and didn't have any clue of what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be. Um, and then I fell into lending and started hanging out with some people and started to make a little bit more money. But like Jonas mentioned, uh, my family didn't talk about money. My parents didn't talk about it, kind of a taboo subject. And so I think I was 29 or 30 years old, and uh, I was home, and my girlfriend, who ended up being my wife, was over, and it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And my bedroom was right next to the front door facing the street of this house that we lived in. Me and Todd, actually the owner of this company when we were roommates. And it was actually 4:03 in the morning to be exact. I heard the loudest knock on the front door I've ever heard before or since, like like that. And I jumped up out of bed and I'm like, what was that? And then she said, I think someone's at the front door. And the entrance was kind of sunk in. I looked out the window and I didn't see anything except for a big truck outside. So I went to the front door and I opened it a little bit, and there was the largest man I've ever seen in my life standing there. Very big person. I'm 6'3". He was at least 6'8". He was probably 320 pounds. And he said, where's the car? I'm like, excuse me? And he said, where is the black Volkswagen Jetta? And then I started to talk, and he goes, don't say anything. I know it's in the garage. Give me the keys. And it took me a few moments to realize my car was getting repossessed. And there's two embarrassing parts to that story. The first one is that I got a car repossessed. The second one is that I only owed $950 on it. I was just lazy. I'm like, I'll pay double next month. And I learned my lesson very quick that you got to pay your bills on time. And I think it's embarrassing to also admit that at the time, I was a finance major in college. So what it opened my eyes to is that people don't talk about money enough. They don't talk about how to pay bills. They don't talk about structure. And it seems silly to me that we work probably around 200 hours a month. Would you guys agree? 200 hours, 50 hours a week, 45 hours a week. There's a little bit more than 4 weeks in the average month. So, between 190 and 200 hours a month we work. And the reason we work is to make money. And then we never talk about what to do with it. And we don't spend enough time thinking about it. So luckily for me on my journey, I ended up being part of a coaching program called the Core Training, and a mentor in my life. I've had 7 big mentors in my life. One of the mentors in my life ran that program, and his name was Rick, and he taught me a budget system. And he had only one condition for teaching me. He said, I learned this from a really rich guy when I was younger, and he made me promise to teach other people. So when I teach you this, once you master it, you have to agree to teach other people without charging them. And I'm like, so I do that. I do 4 times a year. I teach a class on this. I never charge for it. And it is one way of doing money. It is not the only way. And I don't want to have questions or debates on the best way. It's one way of doing your bills and thinking about money, and it works for me. It took me from making 65 or 70 grand a year and being 20,000 in debt to having more money than I ever thought I would have. So I want to do two or three things today, and I want you to do Q&A as we go. We usually have you save it to the end, but I'd like to do it as we go. The first thing I'm going to do is a little worksheet with you. So you're going to need a calculator, and you're going to need the sheet that was emailed to you. And if you don't have the sheet, I need you to email Rebecca right now. Her email is in the chat, and she'll re-email the attachment. She did send it out to everybody who registered for the class, but I know there are last-minute registers, and it's important you have it. If you don't have it, then grab a piece of blank paper, and I'll go slow, and I'm going to share my screen, and you can fill it out as we go, or you can fill out at least the math as we go, and then you can plug it into the form later maybe. So I think this is the most important place to start. Who here wants to retire someday? Yeah. Retirement is a weird thing. When you say retirement, what do you think of? So like unmute them or something. Make it so they can unmute themselves. I want to hear somebody. I'm not really good at lecture mode, y'all. I'm more interactive. I don't really like hearing my voice. I'd rather hear some of what you have to say. So when you think about retirement, tell me what you think about.
For me,
Not
Jimmy, it's
working.
boredom.
So first we're going to do James. James, tell me what you think about.
Not working on loans.
Oh, so that's important. Thank you for sharing that. And I have felt the same way at times. And I'm going to give all of you a real quick little tip. If you want to be good at doing loans or real estate, don't let yourself say that anymore. James, I feel the same way. You hear me?
I can hear you.
I do not say it anymore, and I don't let myself say it.
Okay.
And here's why. Now I'm getting all preachery on you guys, but that's me. So I have this thing hung in my office. Can you guys read it, or is it backwards?
Oh, we can read it.
Good. You got it? Yeah, you could read it. It's from Bruce Lee. It says, don't speak negatively about yourself. I say, or your job. Even as a joke, your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and cast spells. That's why they call it spelling. Change the way you speak about yourself and your job, and you can change your life. What you're not changing, you're also choosing. And I know it's kind of deep or whatever, but I believe it. I think whatever you think about most, whatever you say is what you believe. And whatever you believe changes your actions. And your actions are what give you results. So for example, if I think it's hard to save money, then it's hard to save money. If I think business partners are a pain in the butt, then I'm probably not going to go call on business partners. I just think it's a super simple mindset that I have hanging in my office every day, and I read it every morning. So, but thank you, James, for saying that, because I think a lot of us feel that way sometimes. One more person, what do they think about when they think about retirement?
More vacations.
More vacations? So vacations cost what?
Money.
Funny.
How much does the average vacation cost? 1 week vacation, Monday through Friday, and both weekends off for 2 people, airfare, hotel, activities.
5,000.
How much does it cost?
5,000 at least.
How many?
5,000.
Where are you going?
Someplace cheap, I guess.
Yeah. If you can find me a place for $5,000 for me and my wife for 9 days, bro, that's super cool. Let me know. I think it's more like 10 by the time you eat out every night and you buy all kind of stupid stuff and t-shirts and hats. It's about 10 grand, and it can be more, right? So retirement is not a destination. Retirement is just a different way of living your life that day. And it doesn't mean stop working. I don't think. I think retirement for me means only doing the things I want to and like to do. If I can still make money and only do the things I want to and like to do, why wouldn't I do it? And I think that when we think about retirement too much, it can make us not very attractive to other people. So I've been through it. Like, don't do it. I got permission from my wife to work for at least 10 more years, and then we're going to revisit it. I think I'll get an extension. I'll be able to work a little longer than that. right? So now we're gonna fill out this. So again, beginning with the end in mind, how much do I need to retire to live a life that I want to live? Vacations, choices, all those good things. So Rebecca's gonna share her screen and I'm gonna fill out this form with you as we go. You need a calculator in the form. If you don't have the form, you have a blank piece of paper and I'll read the questions and you can write them down line by line. So Rebecca, can you share your screen? All right. I need the one that's filled out. Do you have that one? There we go. Can you make it take the, I don't know if you, that's fine. So here we go. So this is a form that works. I made some assumptions at the top. The person is 35 years old. Okay. They make $175,000 a year in their for income. That's a household or an individual if they're not married. So I think it's a pretty good start and probably fits for some of the people on this call. And if it doesn't fit for you and you want to do yours with a loan officer from Summit, all you got to do is call them and they'll go through this with you because we've been working on this form for a while. So it says help. This is the roadmap for financial security. Number one, at a 5% rate of return, for every $1 million you have saved, you'll get $4,100 a month without ever touching the principal, without ever touching the million. So you get $4,100 a month and the $1 million would still be there forever. So that means if you value leaving money to your children or whatever, you could still do it and spend $4,100 a month per million you have saved. Right? So it's a pretty reasonable rate of return. I personally have 5% tax-free municipal bonds right now, and they're at 5%. And so it's a real rate of return. It's achievable in the long run. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but on average, it's achievable. So your future life needs. So it says right now, write down your survival number. So if you're playing along with your form, write down how much money you need each month to live the lifestyle you want. So I don't mean to write down how much you actually spend each month, because you may spend more than this number. But if you're retired age, you have no debt, you don't have any little kids anymore, you're not buying diapers, you got to visualize how much money you may need in retirement. And the way you get there is, what's your survival number now, which we'll talk about in a minute. So I wrote $6,000 a month. So this person needs $6,000 a month. They pay $2,500 for their mortgage. They pay $600 for a car payment. Now we're at $3,100, and they spend the rest on groceries, insurance, gas, things like that. So they need $6,000 a month. In the future, how do we predict what they're going to need in the future? Well, we say take half of what you currently spend and add it to it, and they need $9,000 in retirement. So this person feels comfortable that $9,000's enough in retirement to live the lifestyle they want. You get to choose yours. This is just an example. So that's line number one. Their total is they need $9,000 a month in retirement. Line number two says divide that line by 4,100. So you take 9,000, you divide it by 4,100 because that's how much we get per million. And it says they need 2.2 million in the bank when they retire. Remember, they're 35 years old. 2.2 million in the bank, and they'll be able to spend $9,000 a month. Remember, ask questions as we go if it don't make sense. So then line number three, how much cash net worth do they have right now? So this 35-year-old, between their 401k and a little IRA they set up, and then their savings, they have 90 grand in the bank. Not a ton, but not nothing. Pretty impressive. But you write down on that line how much you have in the bank between your 401k, stocks and bonds, savings, any money in any bank account that has your name or your spouse's name on it. So this person has 90,000. Line number four. Can you scroll up a little? There you go. Line number four. How much do I need to save? So you just subtract how much you have from the 2.2 million, right? So they need 2.110 million. Now, when I did this math, I did round a little bit to make it easier for me to write it. So if you check me, there's little small numbers in there, but I just rounded up. So they need to save 2.1 million before they retire. And they're going to work 25 more years. So their plan is to retire at 60. So is that reasonable, Jonas? 60? Yeah, I'm not retiring at 60. 66 is the soonest, planning on 72. So, but anyways, this person wants to retire at 60. So they're going to work 25 more years. Now, line number 6, I want to make sure you understand it. Oh, line number 6 is super important. The most important thing about saving money is to start young. Because money gains interest. And the sooner you start, the miracle of compounding has more time to show you how powerful it is. But here's a small example. That 90,000 that they currently have, in 25 years, it has an asterisk next to it, that 90,000 will be 486,000 if they just invest it and never touch it. 25 years later, it will double it will double a bunch of times, and it'll be 486,000. That's assuming the same 5% rate of return. That's a miracle. What you need to understand about savings is this. Once you put it away, you don't ever get to touch it. Never, ever, under any circumstances. If you spend your savings, all you're doing, and I've done this, is delaying the changes that you need to make in your life. Whether they may be spend less or make more or move to a different house, you're just delaying it when you go through your savings. So remember that one. All right, so that 90 grand is going to be 486. So remember that number. Let's go to the next page. No questions so far, Jonas? I'm shocked. I think I finally figured out how to teach this form. All right, so now we go to the second page of this form, which is on the back. If you received it in the email, it says subtract line 2 from line 6. So line 2 was 2.2 million. That's how much they need to retire. Line 6 was how much their 90 grand would be when they retire in 25 years. That was 486. So we subtract that, and they need to save 1.714 million in the next 25 years. But as they save, they're going to start right now. As they save, the money that they save is going to gain interest during that time. So they don't really need to save 1.7. Line 8 says take line 7 and multiply it by 70%. That allows for that interest growing on the money they save as they go. So they really need to save 1.2 million over the next 25 years, which sounds like a lot. Right? Remember, they make 150 grand a year. So line number 9, divide line number 8 by the number of months you have left to work. So they're going to work 25 years, multiply by 12 months a year, it's 300 months. So you take 1.2 million, you divide it by 300 months left to work, and they need to save $4,000 a month, which is a lot of money. But it allows them to live from 60 years old to 90 years old without having to work. So if they bust their butt and they save this 4 grand for 25 years, they get to not work and spend money for 30 years and have never touched the principal, never touched the 2.2 million. Like, let that sink in. That is amazing. So it says, after you divide it, they need 4 grand a month. And it says, how much do I make per month right now? Well, they make 150 divided by 12 is 12,500. And then line number 11 is super important. It says, following the 30-30-10-30 rule. Pretty complicated rule. 30% of your money goes to the government. 30% of your money you got to save. 10% of your money you give away, and you live off 30% of your money. So if I'm saving 30%, I take 12.5, and 30% of 12.5 is how much? It's $3,750. So it's possible on their current income that they could get really close to hitting their goals. So I want to pause right there and ask a question. So if you can unmute these guys, it would be helpful. What's going to happen if you're 35 years old? For those of you in that age bracket right now, what do you expect to happen to your income over the next 15 to 20 years? Yeah, that says up, up, up. It better go up. So it's going to go up. So really, eventually, they won't have to save 30% of their income to hit their financial goal. It'll be a smaller and smaller percentage. But if they can do it right now, sacrifice and do it right now, and then as their income goes up, they don't have to increase their savings. They can just keep doing the savings of $4,000 a month. That includes what they contribute to their 401k. So if they're making 150 and they put 10% in their 401k, that's 1,500 a month. Now they only got to save 2,500 more. So that all counts. So as their income goes up in their life, as they get older and older, they can increase their lifestyle and have more fun as long as they keep saving $4,000 a month. And that is the magic. What's really hard is to think this way when you're young. But when you're young is when the savings matters most. When you're older like me, it's still fixable. And the reason is your income is higher. You own the things you wanted to own, so you can save a way bigger portion of your income. You could save 40% or 45% and get caught up. So there's a way to do it. So questions on this so far? Is anybody lost? Don't be scared. Someone's got to be lost. Braden, you look lost. I'm just teasing, buddy. Anybody lost? So this is the best job I've ever done in explaining this, Jonas.
Guys, I was lost for the first 3 or 4 times doing this, so please don't be afraid to ask him
No.
questions.
So
I have a question.
yeah,
On the first page, where did that 4,100 come from? What is that
yeah,
represent?
go back to the first page, Rebecca, if you could. So on line number 1, it says at a rate of return of 5%, which is $50,000 a year per million you have in the bank. So if I have $1 million in the bank and I get 5% interest from my savings account, which I currently do, that's $4,100 a month in income
Okay, all right,
for every million I have saved.
great, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Other question? And it's a real number.
Jimmy, we got a question in the chat screen. What if you had to start over at 50 or 60? Can you give us an example of what you would do?
Yeah, I can fill out one of these together with you for 50 or 60. In fact, whoever it is, if they're bold, I would do it with them as we go in just a couple minutes. They just have to put in the chat who they are, and if they're willing to share their numbers, I would do it with them. If not, I can make it up. I want to go to that second page and finish a point, and then go ahead, Jonas.
Jimmy, you have a hand up from Paul from Metro Properties. Paul, I
Thank
can't see you, but I see your hand up.
You got to unmute. There you go.
Yes, I apologize. I'm just a little bit busy here, but I do love the subject. Jim, I wanted to ask you, this scenario, like you said from the beginning, this is just one way. What do you think of people that have invested in, say, their business? Sometimes you get these ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys of income, and but you do still have that focus in mind, and it might take longer than what you expected, and hopefully in the long run you do reap the benefits to put into these investment options that you're talking about. Well, just I don't know if you get the question, but
Yeah, well, let me see if I can repeat it and see if I got it. So you're like, hey, Jim, I'm self-employed. I put all my money back into my business and I'm building a war chest. And I think as long as I'm committed and I keep doing what it takes, eventually I'll get my home run from my business. Is that what you're asking?
somewhat, yeah. I mean, not to the point where you're, just crazy. I mean, you are responsible, but you start to think about, you have put in a lot of time and money into a worthwhile goal. because we do need goals. And I'm just wondering if you've ever come across something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a great question because most of the people on the call are really entrepreneurs, really self-employed because they generate their own business and their own leads, whether they work for this company or that company. You know, the business and your income is really heavily dependent on you. And my answer is a tough answer. And it is this: you really have to consider a separation between your business and your income. Your business has revenue and it has expenses, and what's left over is your income. And you really got to, in your brain, not think of your business as income, because it's not. Your business is revenue and expenses, and the income needs to be paid to you. And then you need to do this based on only the income part of that equation. And it's not easy, and you're betting on yourself, so it's the best bet you can make. But what I find is that the weeks turn into months, turn into years, turn into decades. And you wake up and you haven't done the income side of the equation and the saving side, personal saving side of the equation. And what's best is to do both. Because any income or money you leave in your business, eventually the business is going to need it. And if you're counting on that for your retirement years, in my history of coaching, I've coached top producers for 20 years, people who make 5, 6, 7 million a year, and I've met most of them that don't have a dime in the bank. They make 5 million a year, literally pay taxes on 5 million, and don't have a dime because no one slowed down and taught them this stuff. And so that's my answer: is really got to think about them separately to be super successful in creating wealth. So I'm going to finish this, and then I'll take questions, and then I'll do the example for someone that's a little older.
Point well taken. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So 3750, number 12 is, do they make enough to hit their goals? The answer says almost, and it says good questions. What's your real estate plan? I'm going to tell you the 2-house rule in a minute. Do you have other income? I didn't bother with that. And how are you going to achieve your goal? How are you going to achieve saving $4,000 a month? For this person as a realtor, they could do 1 or 2 more transactions a year, so they could increase their activity and do more business. They could be better with their database. They could work more open houses. They could network with more business people and get more referrals, or they could give less price concessions, right? Don't cut their commission as often. All they got to do is make, probably $2,500 more a month, 30 grand more a year. Not even that, 30%. That's not. It's not very much. They got to save $250 more a month than this formula says. They only got to make about $10,000 more a year, and they'll hit their stride. And again, if you're 35, your income's on the way up. This person is in excellent shape. Excellent. All they got to do is not spend their savings and get as close as they can to saving $4,000 a month. So we'll do. I'll do an older gentleman such as myself quickly, if that's okay. All right, unless someone wanted to volunteer their numbers. Any takers? No, I didn't think so. Money is taboo. Why? Why is money taboo? Unmute them. I can't stand talking to myself.
We attach it to our word.
Yeah. So it's embarrassing if you don't have enough because you think people are going to think less of me, right? I agree. That's probably number one. What's another reason why money is taboo?
In my family, my parents didn't want to let us know when they were struggling.
Yeah, they want to put out, it's like fake book, right? You want to put out a vision of what you want to be versus where you are. And what's the problem with those thought processes? The biggest problem with those thought processes, you will not grow and you will not change. If you want to get better at something, share pain around that subject and ask for help. Like, now me and my dad talk money, but I forced it on him. My brother is my big brother who I love and I look up to. Like, I don't know if he believes it, but like, he's one of my heroes. He was in the military. He was in the Gulf War. He's an unbelievable father. his work ethic is crazy. He's just a really good person. I think I annoy him, but he's a really good dude. And I look up to him, and he doesn't use me for his mortgages. I have one brother. My parents are only children. I have no aunts, no uncles, and no cousins. Do you think I'd give my brother a free mortgage? I would. But he doesn't use me because money is taboo. And he won't let me share the skills I've learned. So don't be that way. Your money, your savings, your credit is not who you are. It's not. It's not. It's not your, it's not. And you can't get better at it if you don't open up about it. You just can't. All right. Wow. How much time do I have? Ooh, I'm gonna go fast, okay? All right. So this person, survival number, and they're 50 years old, is probably 12 grand a month. Half of that, I'm not going to increase it by that much because they're closer to retirement. So I'm going to say they need 15 grand a month for retirement. That would be an excellent lifestyle. 15 grand a month in retirement would be unbelievably good. Everybody agree?
If you would like, I'll volunteer my numbers if you would
Let's
like.
do it. Let's do it. What's your name?
My name's Ethan.
Ethan?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ethan. How much do you currently spend without counting the frills?
Monthly, probably about 1,500.
1,500?
Yeah, not very much money.
You have no mortgage?
No, sir.
And you probably have savings?
Yes, sir.
Well, then you're not a good example. Like, could you retire, Ethan?
Probably in the next 20 years, yeah.
Oh, 20 years? How old are you?
23.
23, you're not older, buddy. I need an older person. I need like someone
well,
50.
I
Jimmy,
volunteer.
I got an example in the chat screen. It says no savings, 65,000 annual income, 10 years, would like to work 10 more years. Total life needs 15,000 a month.
Okay, you make 65 grand a year. You're how old?
Elena, can you take you off mute? Oh, she's 55.
Thank you. And your total household income is 65 grand?
Yes.
And
Thank you, Elena.
and you want to spend 15 grand a month in retirement?
Yeah. Well, I don't know where to start, so I
Yeah.
was going through those numbers.
Yeah, so let me help. See, is it okay if I ask you questions and help real quick?
Yes,
How much do you spend each month right now to live?
about 8,000.
So if you make 65,000 a year, that is 5,200 a month. So how do you spend 8 if you make 52?
Credit card.
Do you have other income? Like you're saying that you
No.
spend 8,000 a month, but you only make 5 grand a month. So I'm wondering how you spend that much.
Credit card debt right now to survive.
Okay. So what I would like to offer you is a one-on-one with me. Because to do these numbers for you is going to be difficult, and I think it takes a little one-on-one, and I'd be happy to do it with you if you would want that.
Yes.
So whatever loan officer that invited you to this call today, you're going to reach out to them, and you're going to tell them that Jim Reed offered to do a one-on-one with you to help you, and then that loan officer will get it set up.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. I can help you with that. So I'm going to do a fake one. Okay, so this person is 50 years old, let's say. So they're going to work 15 more years. Let's do that. Is that reasonable for everybody? Like if someone thinks I'm spitting out some BS, you got to holler. I hate this
I'm
one
willing
way
to share mine if
conversation.
you'd like to.
So they spend 10 grand a month right now. Let's say 12 grand a month right now, and they need 15,000 a month in retirement. They have, so 15,000 a month divided by 4,100. Hey, Braden, do you think you could help me with the calculator?
Shoot.
Yeah, so do line number 1, 15,000 a month. Wow, that's a lot. Let's do 10 grand a month. Let's do 10 grand a month divided, because if they haven't started saving yet, then they're not going to need this crazy high lifestyle. So 10,000 a month divided by 4,100. 2.2, isn't it?
2.43.
So let's call it 2.5. They need 2.5 million bucks. And they're 50 years old, and hopefully they've been saving in retirement and 401ks. Let's say they have How much do you want to say they have? 500, 600,000?
600.
600.
So they've been, between them and their spouse, they got some 401ks, they save 600 grand. How much do they need to save? They need to save 1.9 million. Okay, that's line number 4. How much longer do they want to work? 15 years. So you take 600,000, Brendan, and you multiply it by 2.75. What is that? Braden?
What is it?
Little pressure? Little pressure?
1,650,000.
1,650,000. So if they just work for 15 more years, their 600 will become 1.6. So now they need 1.9 minus 1.6. So this one's easy. They only need to save 300,000 in 15 years. 300,000, 70% is 210,000. And they only got to save 210 over 10 years times 12 is 120 months. What's 210,000 divided by 120?
1,750.
They only got to save 1,750 a month if they're that well off. So I'm gonna finish right now and say this: if you are older, like me, and you want to do this one-on-one, I will do it for you, with you and your loan officer and me on a Zoom call. I'll help you and do it with you. I will, because there's people in tougher spots than that. That's actually a really good spot. I think most people would trade for that spot easily. 15 more years, 1,500 a month, not a problem. That sounds like you're retiring in about 5 years to me. So, or you're increasing how much money you need in retirement. Your lifestyle can go up, put some pressure on your savings, and now maybe you can spend 20 grand a month in retirement. My number is 40 grand a month. That's what I want in retirement. Because I want to do everything I ever wanted to do, and I want to take my 5 sons with me, and they are expensive. I don't want to do it without them, so that's why I upped my number. All right.
Jimmy, do you have a second for a question
Transition.
real quick?
Yeah.
Jimmy, how would you do the calculation if 2 incomes, but planning to have one party retire earlier?
Whoever asked the question, could they tell me how much earlier?
This is Jean. Hi. So 5 years, so income is pretty similar for both, but 5 years for one and 10 years for the other.
Yeah, so I would do it based on you both retiring on the shorter number.
Okay.
And see if you can hit that number in savings, because that's a higher number than you really need, right?
Right.
And if you can hit that number, then maybe you retire too. And you guys can move around. That would be cool.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you can't hit that number, then just get close and you'll still be fine. Like, this form is magical because it gives you a roadmap. So like if you do your form and you're like, I'm not even close, it's impossible, then you have 2 choices. One is realize that your lifestyle in retirement is going to be less and adjust your numbers down and be happy about it. That's one choice. The second choice is do something about your income. The third choice is not a choice. Do not play lotto. Stop playing lotto. All right. I want to go over some tricks, and then I want to go over how to fill out a personal budget. What time am I supposed to be done, Jonas?
1 o'clock. So we got
All right.
20
So I
minutes.
want to respect your time, and this is also Q&A as we go. So I want to go over my personal retirement plan, and then I want to teach you this budget because I'm afraid I won't get to my retirement plan. So 30 years ago, I've been doing this 29 years, maybe 27 years ago, I took this class. I've taken the class I'm giving you 29 times. Same guy teaching it, same stuff being said. Nothing new ever taught to me. I sat in a room for an hour and a half and learned this 29 times. It's not easy. Personal budget system we teach is not easy. And it's sent to you with instructions on how to pay your bills each month, a sample form, and a form to fill out. But when I went to this class, they made me write down a retirement vision that's realistic. So here was mine. okay? My retirement vision was I bought my first house and I kept it. And after I followed the 6 steps to financial freedom, which are this, write these down. Step number 1, this is for your monthly bills, your day-to-day bills. So step number 1 is track every dollar. So have a form for each month of the year that we will give you, track how much money you received and where it all went and how much of it you saved. So step number 1 is track every dollar every month, not estimates, not guesstimates, just track it. That's step number 1. And you can't move on to the next steps until you master the step you're at. So until you're really good at tracking your number, don't ask no more questions. Track your money. Okay, spend an hour, hour and a half a month tracking your money. Step number 2, pay off your bills. Pay off your credit cards. So you track your money. You're aware of where the money's going. Just seeing where it goes, I swear, it'll change your spending habits. You realize how much you're spending at Target. You realize how much money you're spending on Amazon. You guys do know Amazon's not a good deal, right? You do know that to order it in a half a second, have it delivered in the same day costs money, right? You do know if you get your little fanny in the car, you could go pay less. You do know that. It's not a good deal. I talk to these people, they think it's the cheapest. It's the most expensive. And it's the easiest to buy. Turn it off. Turn off Amazon. It's horrible. So track every dollar, see where it goes, you'll spend less. As you spend less, make a list of your credit cards in descending order of balance. In descending order of balance. Highest balance and then go all the way down. Make the minimum payment on every credit card except the one with the lowest balance. I don't give a crap what the interest rate is. If you spread around the extra money between all of them, you'll never pay them off, ever. So you pay everything extra on the smallest card until it's gone. And then you cut it up. You leave the account open, but you don't carry the credit cards anymore. Then you pay everything extra on the second one, and then the third one. And as you're doing this, you're creating more and more free money to pay off these higher balances more rapidly. It took you a long time to get in that much credit card debt, and it's going to take you some time and work to get out. It is. The worst thing that could happen is someone gives you a gift to wipe out your credit card debt, because 18 months from now when I call you, you'll have it all back. And you know it because I've done it. I've been through it. I had to borrow $17,000 from my dad. He made me pay him $1,000 a month. And every month on the first of the month at 6:30 in the morning, he called me and said, am I going to be happy or am I going to be mad when I get to the mailbox? And he accomplished his goal, which is I've never asked that man for another dollar in my life. So it was really good parenting, right? So that's how you pay off bills. That's step number 2. Step number 3, save your float. That's 3 months of your minimum bills. So like your house payment, your car payment, your utilities, some food, like just the bills you need to pay to stay alive and get to the next month. Not what you actually spend each month, just the minimum. So let's say it's $7,000. Now I want you've got your credit cards paid off. I want you to save $21,000 in a float account, a savings account. Now, when your car breaks, you don't have to charge it. When you want to go on vacation, you don't got to charge it. You could spend from the float and then rebuild it. So those are the first 3 steps. Most of us are there. Until you accomplish all those, don't ask no questions about what stocks or bonds to buy. Step number 4, invest, max out your retirement savings opportunities. So max out your 401k. Max out your IRA if you can get one. Max out your Roth IRA if you can get one. See a financial planner at that point. Find out and max all your deferred tax savings opportunities. Max them. Now within those, you should buy a mutual fund, the Admiral Fund from Vanguard. It has the most consistent rate of return. It has the lowest management fees. A mutual fund has a bunch of stocks and bonds in it, so it's diverse. You're not putting all your money in one account. It's the best way to do it. You don't have to pay attention. None of us pay attention anyway. Just buy that one mutual fund for all your retirement plans. It's easy. So now you've maxed out your retirements. Now I want you to save monthly in the stock market. Start at $100, give it to your financial planner, then turn it up to $200, $300, $400, $500 until you're saving between your 401k and IRA, you're saving, and then this extra amount, you're saving your $4,000 a month, whatever your number was to hit your retirement goal. So now you're saving that number, okay? So the last step is prepay on your house. Your house payment's $2,500. So you pay $2,600, then $27,000, then $3,000, then $3,500. As your income goes up, prepay on your mortgage till it hurts. Until it hurts. So now, when you go buy the bigger house, you're already making that payment. Your lifestyle doesn't change. Now you put a tenant in your previous house, you buy your newer, nicer house, you wake up 20 years later, and your original house is paid off, and now you're working on prepaying on your mortgage and paying off the house you live in now. So now you're 65. You got $3 million in the bank. You own 2 homes free and clear. The rent from one home pays the property tax and insurance on both homes. So you have 0 monthly housing expense. Pretty nice. You get Social Security. It ain't that much money, but you get some. The Social Security money is for your utilities, that's your like electric bill and your water bill, and your groceries. So now, for the rest of your life, you can eat and you can sleep without spending $1. Does that sound pretty good? Now you got $3 million in the bank at $4,100 per million. That's $12,500 a month that you can spend on anything you want. So you save 4 of it each month, and you spend the rest. Now that $4,000 a month is $50,000 a year, and you get to go on 5 $10,000 vacations. Or 2 badass vacations. And take whoever you want with you. That was my vision 27 years ago. And because of this form, and because of being in a coaching program, and because of hanging out with people who talk about this stuff, and think about this stuff, and think about the future, and talk about work ethic, and implement strategies to get more leads, and learn skills on negotiating deals better, because I hang out with all them people, I have it now. So what did I have to do? I had to change my plan. It's just a game. Like, people who live for retirement, that destination-driven mentality, it doesn't work. Life is a game. Money is points on the scoreboard. Just change the game. Hang out with the right people. That's the best advice I could give you. So we went over the 6 steps. I gave you my house plan. I taught you how to prepay on your mortgage. I gave you the mutual fund that I buy. I'm not giving you financial advice. I am not a licensed financial planner. But do not buy individual stocks. Do not buy 16 different mutual funds. Buy the S&P index or buy the Admiral fund, or find one that you trust and buy it over and over and over. If you're going to buy individual stock, buy it on some company that you believe in, that's been around, that stays the course. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, right? They're going to be around. If you bought Blockbuster, I'm sorry, you lost all your money. Anything that's technology has a shelf life. Coca-Cola, people drink that. So pay off debt, taught you that, save, I think I taught you everything. I'm ready for Q&A before we wrap up, Jonas.
The one question that's in here, Jimmy, is what happens if your interest rate on your house is at 3% or under? Should you still prepay on it?
It's after you've done all the other steps, right? So the reason you would prepay is to practice for the next house payment. If you, like, rich people lend money, poor people borrow it. So is it better to have a 3% mortgage or no mortgage? If you're 50 years old or older, which one's better?
Done.
Anybody, I'm willing to talk about it. I like debating.
Well, I would suggest that using that 3% mortgage to allow you to leverage it and buy more real estate would be better.
Well, real estate is comes with risk, does it not?
Over the long term, the risk is pretty low. Yes, there's
Yeah,
risk.
but I'm 55 years old, so how long's my term?
Well, I hopefully you have 25 years. That's a good risk tolerance term.
Yeah, so like, have you ever had a rental property yourself?
I have 17 of them. Yeah,
Yeah. Have you ever had a big old bill when someone moved out?
I have.
Yeah, so I'm not saying rental property is not a good idea. I believe in 50-50 wealth. That means 50% of your wealth is in equity
Yeah.
and 50% of your wealth is in cash. People get in trouble when they have most of their wealth in equity and then a bad turn happens. I've seen people go bankrupt, and then people who have no equity and have all their money in cash, they lose out on growth. So I agree with you. Rental properties are not bad. I think for most of us, 1 or 2 is plenty. If you have the right mindset and it's part of your, like if you have 17 rental properties, it's a full-time job. Like that's a serious job.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So, but for most of us, we got a different full-time job, right? So then we want to hire a property manager. Well, that cuts the profit out. There's not that much profit in a rental property. So you just got to be in balance is my answer. I think it's a good statement.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yep. Other
Jimmy,
questions? Yeah.
Question from earlier. Do you use a financial advisor?
So yeah, good question. Yes. I use one financial advisor and I have about, of my cash, I have about 65% of my money, not counting 401k and stuff. I have about 65% of my money with that person. And the rest, I just buy a Vanguard mutual fund with a super low management fee. It's got the lowest management fee of any fund I found. So those people charge between 3/4 and 1 3/4% of your portfolio every year, whether your money goes up or down. So if you have 5 million with them, how much does he get a year? 65 grand. For doing what? I could use the 65 grand, right? So if you're going to hire a financial planner, here's what you tell them. First of all, you ask them how much that money they make, how much they're charging you. And after they tell you, you say the following words: I don't want to pay that much. And you will instantly get a discount. Don't do it twice because now you're a jerk. Do it once and you'll get a discount. Once you have more than $1 million, you should pay 1% or less. 75 is a really good deal, 0.75. So when I hire them, I tell them, I'm hiring you to make me do the things I should be doing to protect my estate. I am not hiring you for your financial prowess in stock purchases. So make me get a trust. Make me update the trust. Make me meet with a tax attorney. Make me review my tax returns with somebody to make sure I'm not losing money. Make me review my insurances, my life insurance every 2 years. Like, make me do the stuff that I'm supposed to do. Don't tell me to do it because I'll never do it. Like I'm telling you, if I hire you and give you my millions of dollars and you don't make me do this stuff, I'm going to fire you. So now my guy is actually the son of the original guy I hired. That's how long I've been with that group. And he comes to my office and sits with me when I meet the trust attorney, when I meet the tax attorney. He comes and sits with me to make sure I do it and ask the questions. And I always say, thanks. And he said, and he always leaves and says, I don't want to get fired. That's what you pay them for. Don't use small companies. Don't use companies you never heard of for this. Because Morgan Stanley is not going to steal my money, because if they do, what am I going to do? I'm going to call Curtis at Channel 3 on my side and I'm going to throw a fit. Right? They can't skip town and go to wherever. The Cayman Islands. They can't. Right? You don't send your money to a Bernie Madoff guy or whatever. He didn't have a bank statement with a company name on it. So yeah, they may charge a little more and they may be a little less, they may not take the chances and may not be able to say they have the biggest returns, but I don't want to lose money when I give it to them. I don't mind if I don't make a ton, but I don't want to lose any. If you're like me, follow that advice. Okay, any more questions, Jonas? You guys got me all fired up today. This is my
Yep, Jimmy, I'm going to give you the last one to respect everybody's time. Jim, what do you think of family banking and being a partner or investing into big multifamily mixed use properties in good areas?
What do I think about family banking?
Paul, can you take yourself off of mute and explain the question for me, please, sir?
Yes, Jim, I like what you said about rich people, they lend and poor people, they borrow. Family banking, as far as how the big barons, real estate barons made their money, we're talking turn of the century.
Yeah, you're talking the 5 families. I got you.
Yeah. And so when I speak or when I ask the question of family banking, life insurance policies come into play, and I don't know if you have any experience in that.
So life insurance particularly, when we talk about that?
Yeah, like in other words, a lot of these big barons, what they ended up doing is becoming banks themselves.
Yeah, well, they are the banks. They're the Federal Reserve. Yes.
Well, aside from that, and what they did is that, from my research and reading, they've implemented these life insurance policies and borrowed against that when
Yes.
they had to have money. So I'm
Yes.
just wondering, and a lot of times insurance people don't know about these things, and
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
just.
I think I got the gist. So I'm going to give you as you can tell, I shoot it straight. I grew up on the East Coast and now I live in California. Most Californians don't know how to handle me. I'm too straightforward. They like a little softer approach. So I'm gonna be straight up. Yes, there's a tool, Universal Whole Life, that is really, really good for really, really, really rich people. The current tax exemption is $13 million. So if you don't have a lot more money than 13 million, Universal and Whole Life is a very not good product. The reason it's a not good product is the cost of insurance is very expensive. So you put your money into this product that you can borrow against, and then when you die, you have an insurance plan. But what no one ever asks is, what happens to the money that I saved? And the answer is, the insurance company keeps it. That's right, they keep it. And so, if you want to buy life insurance, if you're not mega wealthy, because once you're mega wealthy, then you have to have tax strategies for estate transfer, and that's none of us on this call, or you wouldn't be on this call, you'd be teaching it. Okay, so if you want to buy insurance, you buy term insurance. You never buy a combo product. If you want to invest like I taught you. If you want insurance, buy insurance. You buy 20-year term insurance and you redo it every 5 years. 20-year term, redo it every 5 years for as long as they'll give you term. And then by then you should have accumulated enough wealth where you don't need it no more. Now, again, if you have over 13, you need a good financial planner. I don't. So term insurance is cheap. And the way you figure out how much term insurance you need is you figure out how much money does my spouse need per month to live? Come up with a dollar amount. How much debt do I have? Come up with a dollar amount. 200 grand per kid for college, dollar amount. So now they're debt free. Your spouse is debt free. They get to keep the houses. The kids' college is paid for, and there's enough money for them to get 4,100 per million to live the same lifestyle. So for me, that's a $5 million policy because I have zero debt and I've already saved the money for my kids' college. So she gets 4 times 5, $20,500 a month. She'll own 2 houses and she'll have no bills. So did I set her up?
Yes, you did.
I
Jim,
did.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. That's it.
How about the multifamily instead of single family?
Yeah. So the most appreciation is in a single family house. The least appreciation is in a fourplex. That's
No, but we're talking multiple units, not just a fourplex. We're talking 75 plus.
Yeah, you're talking about apartments.
Yes. Well, multifamily, they're still considered
Well,
multifamily.
so we go 1 to 4 units is residential, and then after that becomes a different category, commercial lending, and so there's 2 different answers. So apartments, I think, are good, but you should never buy an apartment without at least 50% down ever. And you have to get a 10% cap rate, which means you got to get 10% return on the amount of money you put down on the house, on the apartment. And you have to look at the 10-year history of that apartment complex in terms of their vacancy and their repairs, their deferred maintenance, and their utility, like their air conditioners, their heaters. You have to be so thorough. But if you are thorough and you do it, it is a great way to have really good income.
How about new development? What do you think?
New developments, like what kind of houses?
Yeah, mixed use apartments.
I don't like brand new. I think brand new is like a brand new car. The best way to buy a car is 2 years old, keep it for 3 years.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Jim. Appreciate it.
Good questions. Guys, I've run over. This is one of my favorite topics. All these answers come to me like this because I've asked questions for 30 years. If you need help, you're an agent and you refer one of our loan officers and you want some of my time, you can have it. All you gotta do